Everything you think is separate is not a guided exploration. Everything you assume about being alone, separate from other people, separate from the world, separate from cause and effect, is a story. It's a useful story, a survival story, but it's not the only way the universe arranges itself. There are patterns, facts, and possibilities that quietly suggest we're woven into a single fabric, a web whose threads run deeper than space, deeper than time. Today, I want to take you on a journey through that web. A journey that moves from hard scientific discoveries to intimate, everyday ways your inner life and outer world may be entwined. If you're expecting a dry lecture, relax. This is part philosophy, part thought experiment, part practical guide. We'll ask big questions. Can intention change reality? What do physics and neuroscience actually say? And more importantly, for your life, how can you work with the reality you do experience, whether or not the cosmos is secretly conspiring in your favor? So breathe in. Let the idea settle that separation might be smaller than you think. Let's begin. Imagine 2 dice. Picture this. You and a friend each take an identical die. You throw yours in a little cafe in Lisbon. Your friend throws theirs on a beach in Bali. You both shout the number out loud. Now imagine that somehow, whenever your die shows a 6, theirs shows a 6 too every single time. Distance doesn't matter. No phone call, no signal. Nothing seems to travel between the dice, yet the outcomes line up. That thought experiment is a dramatized, human-sized version of a real phenomenon in physics. In the microscopic world, certain pairs of particles behave as if they are linked not by a wire, not by a force that travels through space, but by a subtle correlation that shows up instantly, regardless of distance. This is entanglement. It's weird. Before you run away with visions of magic, here's the nuance. Entanglement is about correlations. It doesn't give you a signal you can send faster than light. It doesn't let you flip a die in Lisbon and instantly change the die in Bali in a way that violates cause and effect in a macroscopic, controllable way. But it does open a conceptual door. The universe contains relationships that aren't mediated by ordinary space. Things can be connected in ways that defy the everyday idea of separation. Why does any of this matter for you? Because it changes the metaphor you use for yourself. If particles can be linked non-locally, maybe our metaphors about mind and world being strictly separate also need revising. And metaphors shape everything: how we think, how we act, and ultimately, how we interpret the results of our actions. Observation, measurement, and the curious case of the double slit. The double slit experiment is often dragged into discussions about consciousness. If you haven't heard of it, here's the gist. When individual particles, like electrons or photons, pass through 2 slits, they seem to produce an interference pattern, a signature of wave-like behavior, as if each particle somehow explored both slits at once. But when you set up a detector to find out which slit the particle actually went through, the interference pattern disappears, and the particle behaves like a little localized dot. The act of measurement changes what happens. That sentence gets compressed into headlines like "Consciousness collapses reality," and that's where things get spicy and messy. The technical point is that the system's interaction with a measuring apparatus, or its environment, changes the experiment's outcome. Physicists describe this in terms of decoherence in measurement, not necessary involvement of a human mind with mystical powers. The word observer in quantum mechanics has been stretched by many into human-centric language, but most working scientists use observer to mean any interaction that extracts information: a camera, a detector, even stray air molecules. Still, it's poetic to sit with the fact that information, what's known or knowable, matters in the quantum world. And if information plays a role at the foundations of physical theory, it invites a philosophical question. What role does information play in our lives? How do the facts we attend to, the stories we tell ourselves, and the meanings we assign shape what shows up next? the heart, the field, and the idea of an emitting self. Let's step back from particles and look at something more immediate. Your body. Your heart is not only a pump, it's an electrical organ. Every beat generates electrical currents and associated magnetic fields. Instruments can detect and map those fields. In fact, the heart's electromagnetic activity is measurable several feet away from the body. This is physiological reality, not metaphysical poetry. Some researchers and practitioners have taken this measurable field and explored what it might mean for social connection and emotional influence. If our bodies are continually generating fields that vary with emotional state, then in principle, those fields could carry information. That's plain enough. Moving from information-carrying field to my mood is literally shaping the external world is a much larger leap. Correlation is not causation. You might notice that when someone in a room relaxes, the vibes shift and people respond in kind. That's real. But the idea that your heart field can directly bend macroscopic events to your will, that's where science demands careful evidence. What matters for our purposes is a middle ground take. Our internal states ripple outward and influence how we behave. And our behavior in turn influences external outcomes. We are not isolated islands. Our physiology, posture, tone, and expressions affect how people react. They shape opportunities and relationships. Even if the metaphysical claim that thought energy literally entangles with distant events isn't established science, the pragmatic fact remains. Your inner state matters for what you create in the world. The subconscious, your living operating system. Most of what you do each day runs on autopilot. From brushing your teeth to making quick social judgments to your snap emotional responses, the subconscious handles the heavy lifting. Neuroscience and psychology have shown that a huge amount of processing happens below conscious awareness. That doesn't mean you're a puppet, it means your mind has layers. In early life, we pick up patterns, beliefs about money, safety, love, and what's possible in a particularly absorbent state. Those patterns become filters. They affect what you notice, how you interpret events, and what actions you take. Think of your subconscious as a radio receiver and transmitter tuned by habit. If it carries a frequency of scarcity, you'll notice scarcity everywhere. If it carries a frequency of openness, possibilities become more visible. There's a beautiful cautionary detail here. Conscious desire alone rarely overcomes entrenched habit. You can declare, "I'm going to be abundant," until the words wear thin. But if the deeper circuits are wired toward lack, your choices will tend to steer you back to what's familiar. That's why change often feels like a tug of war, your conscious intentions pulling one way while underlying programs quietly pull the other. This is not mystical, it's adaptive. Autopilot frees up bandwidth for complex tasks, but it also locks patterns in place. The remedy is to deliberately and consistently rewire those patterns with both cognitive strategies and embodied practices. The seductive leap from subatomic weirdness to daily miracles. Now let's be candid. There's a strong temptation to take quantum mechanics with its non-intuitive, spectacularly counterintuitive results and map those results directly onto human psychology and spiritual claims. It's alluring. Tiny particles do weird things. Consciousness is mysterious, and we want agency. So we weave a narrative. If particles can be entangled, maybe our minds can be entangled with outcomes. If measurement depends on observation, maybe thought creates reality. This is not a new move. Humans have always used scientific metaphors to make sense of inner experience. The danger is twofold. 1. Overstating what the science supports. 2. Missing the real, actionable insights that don't require magical thinking. Entanglement does not provide a reliable method for manifesting wealth or love like a cosmic slot machine. But the physics does gift us with a metaphor that, responsibly used, can change how we practice life. Here's the pragmatic translation. The universe appears to hold patterns of deep relationality. That relationality can be invoked as an encouragement to act with coherence, clarity, and consistency. When you do, your decisions align with your goals, your behavior changes, and the world responds not because quantum particles bent to your will, but because you change the variables that matter in the macroscopic causal web. Consciousness and the brain, a debated frontier. There are serious scientific theories that try to bridge quantum behavior and consciousness. A well-known proposal suggests that microstructures inside neurons might host quantum effects that contribute to conscious experience. It's intriguing, and the scientists who propose it do so with technical depth and mathematical rigor. But it is, at present, a hypothesis lively, contested, and far from settled. Why bring this up? Two reasons. First, it reminds us that consciousness is still a deep mystery. The longer the mystery persists, the more attractive sweeping claims become. Second, it means humility is warranted. When you read confident statements that science proves thought controls reality, you should notice there are active debates, and many respected scientists caution against conflating hypothesis with proof. Philosophy loves this gray area. It's the space where wonder meets discipline. Use that space wisely. Stay open-minded and insist on evidence when practical claims are being made. How beliefs shape perception, and perception shapes outcomes. Let's move from metaphysics to mechanics. A belief is a hypothesis your brain runs. A belief colors your attention. You notice what your beliefs make salient. If you believe the world is hostile, you'll more readily see slights. Your body will enter protective postures. Your actions will close down possibilities. If you believe opportunities are available, you'll notice more openings and be more likely to act on them. This is not mystical. It's basic cognitive science in action. Expecting a positive outcome can decrease anxiety, increase creative problem solving, and lead to behaviors that cause better outcomes. It is feedback, not magic. The gorgeous lesson is that because beliefs feed back into action, they can become self-fulfilling prophecies. That means beliefs are worth tending. Practical. How to rewire the subconscious, a step-by-step approach. If the subconscious is a powerful engine steering much of your life, the practical question becomes, how do you change its programming? Here's a pragmatic plan combining psychological insights with accessible practices. These are not guaranteed miracles, they are repeated, evidence-informed techniques that alter attention, habit, and context. Name the program. Spend time identifying the core beliefs that limit you. Be specific. I can't make money is vaguer than I believe money comes only from long, painful effort. Journaling for 20 minutes a day can help bring these scripts into language. Gather counter-evidence. The subconscious skews toward confirmation. Deliberately collect instances that contradict the limiting belief. Keep a notable exceptions list. Small, cumulative data shifts cognition over time. Create micro-experiments. Test alternate beliefs with low-risk bets. If you think people never help, try asking for a small favor from someone twice this week. Note outcomes. Behavior changes belief as much as belief changes behavior. Use embodied practice. Body posture, breathing, and vocal tone feed the mind. Practices like breathwork, short movement rituals, or a posture of openness before important meetings shift internal state, and thus the signals you send outward. Visualize with sensory detail. Guided visualization that places you in a realistic, embodied future can prime perceptual systems. Imagine not just the goal, but the smell, the conversation, the outfit, the posture as if you were there. Do this daily for 5 to 10 minutes. Repeat ritualistic signals. Ritual strengthens pattern. A morning sequence: sit, breathe, state intention aloud, write one action yields repetition that stabilizes change. Design your environment. If you want to be productive, make distractions harder and cues for desired behavior easier. Context shapes habit more than willpower does. Use social scaffolding. Surround yourself with one person who holds the belief you want to develop. Social environments are powerful transmitters of norms and expectations. Track progress and iterate. Build a feedback loop. Small, measurable metrics: minutes spent writing, number of outreach messages, dollars saved give the subconscious data that the new behavior is real and repeatable. Practice compassionate persistence. Reprogramming takes time. Expect slippage, not catastrophe. Treat setbacks as information, not identity. The ethics of manifestation and personal responsibility. If you begin to think your internal states influence outcomes, there's an ethical question. Does that mean people are to blame for their suffering if they didn't manifest a better life? That's a cruel, simplistic conclusion. Structural inequalities, chance, health, trauma, these are real, often systemic, factors that no amount of positive thinking can erase. A mature approach holds both truths. Your inner state and actions matter, and external conditions matter too. Use inner work to optimize what you can influence. Use collective action and practical strategies to change what you cannot. Both domains matter. Stories, anecdotes, and everyday evidence. People often point to coincidences as proof that inner life plays directly on the stage of events. The truth is, coincidences are a human magnet. Our pattern-seeking brains love connecting dots. That doesn't mean nothing interesting is happening. It means we should be rigorous about the kinds of stories we accept as evidence. At the same time, there are countless honest, ordinary stories of people who changed habits, shifted perspective, and saw measurable changes in their lives. A writer who commits to a daily word count produces a novel. A person who practices small acts of generosity fosters reciprocal networks. Someone who asks for help receives it. These are not mystical. They are causally mundane. They are, however, deeply meaningful, and they're precisely the kind of influence inner states can have on life. A modest metaphysics to live by. Here's a simple philosophical stance that keeps wonder and discipline in conversation. The universe manifests layers of relationship, some governed by strict causal machinery, others by pattern and context. Your inner life is not irrelevant. It changes what you pay attention to, how you act, and what you attract in practical senses. Extraordinary scientific phenomena like entanglement are real and challenge our intuitions, but they are not a license for unfalsifiable claims. Use them for metaphor, not as proof text. Ethical living requires humility. Change yourself where you can, and help change the systems around you when they limit lives. This stance invites curiosity without gullibility. It encourages practice without magical thinking. Exercises to try right now. Short, practical. 3-minute reset. Sit upright. Breathe in for 4 counts. Out for 6. For 3 minutes. Notice a shift in posture, temperature, or clarity. Write one action you'll take in the next hour based on that clarity. Belief audit. Pick one limiting belief. Write 3 specific memories or facts that contradict it. Read them every morning for a week. Micro-asking. Ask for a small, concrete favor from someone in your network. Track the response. Repeat. Social practice rewires your expectation for help. Gratitude data. Each night, write 3 small things that went better than expected. Over weeks, this trains attention toward positive variance. Environmental nudge. Remove one temptation from your primary workspace. Replace it with a visible cue that signals the behavior you want. Closing. Practice over proof. Wisdom over certainty. We began with an arresting claim. Separation is an illusion. That claim can be read scientifically, poetically, or somewhere in between. My invitation for you is practical and philosophical. Play with the possibility that you are connected, not because you control the cosmos, but because your mind, body, and behavior are part of a relational, responsive world. Don't confuse hope for evidence, but do treat hope as a practice. Tend your inner life with curiosity, rigor, and compassion. Try the experiments above. Watch for real-world changes that follow from new habits and new perceptions. Celebrate small wins. Reject any narrative that blames individuals for systemic injustices. Bring your inner work into service to others, not as an escape into magical thinking, but as a disciplined contribution to a life well lived. If you enjoyed this exploration, consider subscribing for more episodes that walk the line between philosophy, psychology, and practical living. Share a story in the comments about a small shift that made a real difference for you. I'd love to read it. And if you want, I can create a companion script that annotates each step with suggested visuals and timestamps for a polished YouTube edit. Remember, you are not merely a spectator in your life. You are a participant, a thinking, feeling agent nested in networks of relation. That's not a burden, it's an invitation. Thanks for listening. Take one small, intentional step today and see where it leads.